along with Connor Listoka, and this is 372 pages. We'll never get back. Connor, how are you?
Good. The recording is in process. That reminds me of the ominous notification I get from my dishwasher every time it finishes. It says, the program is complete.
Oh, wow. We had a GPS or a system that was built into the car that would say, "You have arrived." And I was like, "You're damn right I have." Yeah. I would get out, start shooting the place up, you know. No, I don't like. We also have a microwave that I can't. I think I can turn it off, but the choice is complete silence or a loud beep that would cause neighbors to, check everything in their house to see what is happening. There's something is wrong. That's the only two choices. There's no volume or anything like that.
And then you also get the appliances that have the permanent light on button. So like the coffee maker, when we came to Minneapolis for the Riff Tracks live show this year, just had a permanent, essentially like Eat at Joe's neon sign illuminating just to be like, I'm on. If you want to make coffee at 3 a.m. when you're bewitched by this light, you can come on over here and do that. It needs to be informing you that it's plugged in at all times.
So that's what we do here at 372 pages. We go Andy Rooney right away for quite a while. There's a little light. It really bothers me.
But that's that's what we're here to discuss today, is that there's these modern conveniences, but man, has this technology gone too far? And that's what the tech verse is sort of all about, really. It's
Black Mirror before there was any such thing as Black Mirror.
I mean, what if they made androids, but they all had similar names? Like, we've got to go back. We've got to prevent this future from happening.
Or, Westworld, where the big reveal is that he's an android. You're like, for God's sake, man, you've got nothing else. Of course he's an android. I'm an android. Let's just stipulate you're all androids, okay?
Yeah. What if there were two body types, lean and plump, but then some people were very plump? Like, my God.
What if there were food substances that were slightly different from the food substances you have, so we name them really annoying things?
Well, that is essentially the tech verse, and we're on book 8 of the tech verse, written by William Shatner and mostly Ron Goulart. Tek Kill, and we ended the last podcast halfway through it in a adventure for Jake Cardigan and Gomez, our two heroes, that has to be so similar to what the other 7 books in the series were like that it's really just stunning that we know and work with someone who has read all 9 of these willingly.
Yeah, you think you get to a point where they go, you remember a couple years ago, Sid, when you lost both your legs and we had to replace them with android legs. But no, it's just like Sid and he bopping around. There's just a few new characters. Of course, they added his son, who we're told, and it seems to be bearing out. We'll see that he's a really annoying addition to this series.
Yeah, but he sort of has that, Indiana Jones lady friend thing where he gets, knocked out and abducted, and that's sort of he becomes his own MacGuffin at some point in time. That's how he bears out in this one.
Which, you got to admire the people who are whacking the 16-year-olds around and kidnapping them. But we'll get to that.
Yeah, but it starts with where are we in the story? Last time, Jake had just crashed an air car, or possibly a Plaz taxi. I don't remember which one it was. It was driving itself, and it crashed on a beach. And then Gomez had traveled down to Sweetwater, Texas, where he had met a either former or current reformed stripper named Pistol Packin' Marnie, who was going to be setting him up. I am unclear about why he had to go there, but it all hinges on a tech manufacturing corporation, pharmaceutical company.
He has to go down there to talk to one of 3 people with somewhat similar names that I could not keep straight. One of them, then I learned, was dead. I was like, I did not make a note about that, so I don't remember that. But yeah, he's down there. Sid Cimarron sent Marnie to Sweetwater.
Okay.
Dan and Molly are investigating the whereabouts of Susan.
Susan,
Susan, who has vision. Susan is a tech head. who has rich parents, one of whose name is what? Mrs. Junan Stockpole the 14th or something like that?
Yeah, I think Junan Stackpole is her evil stepmother.
Yes, Mrs., which they keep calling her Mrs., but she's like the paramour of her husband, and she like hates her step monster. Yeah. And but her name is Mrs. Junan Stackpole.
All right, so I have a theory about that as we're going along.
All right, good.
This is the tech head's Susan Grossman's nemesis. Like, she's always like, Junan Stackpole. I think she actually calls her that bitch. Not a real person. A tech-induced
the doctor is a woman?
Antagonist. Yeah, that type of thing. The Fight Club Tyler Durden, I believe, is her.
Oh, okay. Stackpole. I like that theory. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess
because she's not been. I don't think she's been seen on camera yet.
Oh, okay. They're referring to a fight they had, and I was like, I don't remember the fight. You know, it's been a long time since I've read these things.
I think she told her friends about the fight. I don't know if we actually saw it, or maybe when they see the Plaz footage of it, she's just gonna be trashing her own room and being like, "Damn it, Junan!"
Punched herself in the face. Okay, all right. Well, then, so they're trying to rescue her. Her brother was killed. She had visions of her brother being killed. There are two twins. So picture two people who look alike. No, they're not. They're just happen to have the same birthday. A brother and sister who run, what is it, Newtown
Pharmaceuticals.
Newtown Pharmaceuticals, which is down in the Caribbean. So,
but it also has the Newtown sector, which they run in Southern California. They think they have a manufacturing plant in the Caribbean.
Yes.
Further unspecified, much like the Ellis is Africa, but... yeah, we will get down to the Caribbean. And I think the main takeaway we have both had in this section is, you commented from the beginning that it had a cozy mystery level of characters. But the last time we read one of these books, it was Ron Goulart. The whole book, he talked about two gangsters, Bennett Sands and Sonny Hikori, throughout the whole book. And they were always off camera. In the last 20 pages of the book, he introduced them, and both of them were killed immediately, so it was quite funny. This one, he does pretty much the exact opposite page of the playbook, where he will mention a character or introduce a character, you will interact with them, you get their full name, and then they are most likely never heard from again. And it is deeply annoying when you have that many characters thrown at you. You get someone's full name, it's not just like, said the plump teenager, it's said, Molly O'Herlihy, and then you search for that name, and they're never mentioned again.
Yeah, that was shockingly frustrating, to the point that when I saw a name and I was like, I think this is a one-off, but it also could have been mentioned 7 times, I'd be like, I'm not looking back. So there may be some of it that is my fault when we get to characters who I don't recognize. Just putting that out there in advance.
Sure. Yeah. And we do have a very exciting dual-person real or fanfic coming up in this, the last one of this series. Read by a third party that we will both participate in to see who is doing better, and this will finalize the results for Tek Kill.
Connor is very excited about that. Just to give you a preview of that, but we're starting at. Can we dive in? Chapter 22.
Let's do it.
We start in media res with Susan has been taken away. I think she was hidden off somewhere. She was in the underground jungle, wasn't she? Or was that the other person?
That was the Hermione.
Okay.
Susan has already been to a tech den, been rescued from there. I believe she's now at home. They've taken her home after Jake Cardigan has, walked her through the 12 steps, essentially.
And so she gets I was a recent hospital visitor, so I've got a whole 20 minutes on hospital food.
Oh, please. Yeah.
And then I took an airline to the hospital, so then I've got a whole... So I'm going to roll up my sleeves and stand against a brick wall and do that for you a little bit later. But this is what she was eating. Beside the chair rested a lunch tray that held an uneaten soy loaf sandwich, an untasted Plaz cup of... And I was already like, all right, I am not in a good mood. But then they went, Plaz cup of Citra Sub and a cold mug of Near Calf. I mean... This is the second paragraph of my reading, and already my room is emptied of small objects that I've thrown far from my reading area.
It's the bullshit meal of the future. There's 4 made-up words, I think, in the one order. Soy loaf, Plaz cup, citrus sub, near calf. And it goes on to say, days like today, slow gray days, she didn't like at all. But I thought like a slow gray day, that's when you like hold your mug of near calf with both hands. Yeah. You lick your citrus sub off the back of your spoon, like pull your knees up to your chest. That's come on.
Soy loaf for those slow gray days. And then the tinkling piano. Where was that place we ate soy loaf in France? And that waiter?
Yeah.
Jean-Claude?
Yeah, Alan with a Y.
Oh, boy.
She is then, this is the crazy person, Susan. It says, this is the narrator saying, for a while, well, to be honest, she'd long since lost the capacity to enjoy just about any sort of day. For a while last night, though, she'd felt almost hopeful. Yes, almost hopeful, she said aloud. I guess that pretty much sums up my state of mind. So for a person who's trying to convince people that she's not crazy, replying out loud to a narrator of a book is not really going to be a way to tilt the scale in your direction of sanity, I guess.
No, and she says, like, right after that, she's like, she was with Molly, Dan, and Dan's father, Jake Cardigan, and so they're in the kitchen, like, 6 feet away, like, putting their soy Tek spread, Plaz spread on their Plaz bread, and, like, all of a sudden, yes, almost hopeful. What? Hello?
Susan?
Susan? You okay over there?
Vision? Is someone else being murdered by a piping voiced bald man?
Molly coming up with a syringe like behind her. She should probably do it. Yeah, that was very odd.
She does say about Jake Cardigan, who's how she's at. It just goes on. The talk she had with Jake Cardigan while he flew her home in his sky car had buoyed her up. He was outwardly tough and cynical, but she sensed a gentleness and a caring inside, which is just great storytelling. It's very Dan Brown of just telling you who someone is without even bothering to have them save the cat, as you like to say.
It's also very reminiscent of driving babysitters home. Something that I finally made a pledge to Bridget. Like, I will pick them up every single time. I know that may not seem fair, but you have to drop them off.
Oh, there's a difference.
Well, yes, because on the way home, yeah, it wasn't always. We had probably half and half.
Uh-huh.
But like a middle-aged man and a person in high school, you just don't have much to talk about. On the way there, it's like,
all right, so the kids have to go to bed.
Yeah, you're giving them instructions, like so the drill. Oh, I see you brought some stuff. That's cool. George likes to play that. Yeah, okay, good. All right, here we are. And that's it. But the other way is just like, oh man.
Oh, so the babysitters never sensed that you might look tough and cynical, but were gentleness and caring inside?
I tried to convey it, with the side of my face, like, yes. Gentle and caring.
By the way, you'd leap through building entryways and hit the ground rolling. That was how you...
Yes.
Well, then I spoiled it, but then a tall blonde android in a spotless pale yellow suit enters a room and says, "I'm Alan. That's Alyn. And I'll be your indoctrinating therapist at Dr. Stoltzer's." So it's annoying, correct, that you would have an android who introduces himself with a fake way of spelling something, then spells it out for you.
It's extremely annoying. It also is nonsensical as the book goes on, because it comes up to another spot that is a parallel, but makes no sense. But it did remind me of that this person should be a Hollywood assistant, passing out waters in the lobby as you wait to make your pitch. Because I am Alan. Oh, hey, Alan, how's it going? That's A-L... Oh, God. You don't have to zhuzh up your name.
Right.
We're not going to remember who you are.
I'm Carrie with an X. How is that possible?
Which part?
But so Alan is a tall, blonde android in a spotless, pale yellow suit. And the thing that occurred to me was just how off-putting it would be if, like, robots like C-3PO, if he wore a suit or clothes of any kind, or if he had hair. It just strikes me as very unholy. It's makes my skin crawl to imagine him, C-3PO with hair in a suit.
Yeah, it's kind of like the original like Greek and Roman statues, right? All the statuary and everything was all painted.
Uh-huh.
And so that like painting eyes into the why does David have eyes? The Pieta looks terrifying. It looks like Lucy from the Peanuts.
Everything looked like the woman who redid the fresco.
Yes.
But then she goes on. She talks about June Ann Stackpool, the bitch who's trying to stick me off to the loony bin. She said to the big mechanical man, the steam man of the prairies. I don't know.
I looked that up and wondered whether any connection was that a little shout out. It's like, yeah, I had the same exact note. Unfortunately, no one made that connection.
If there's any author we've covered who probably knows about that, Ron Goulart seems like that kind of guy, an old soul. But then Alan knocks her out with a needle.
Yes, Alan with A-L-Y-N.
A-L-Y-N. And we got a lot of chapters here that sort of like go back and forth between settings.
Yeah, there's no reason, like the chapters become meaningless because there's different, it just jumps from one scene to another like a Tom Clancy novel or something like that, except with very short and jarring things, which to me makes it a little harder to remember where everyone is. But whatever, I'm just like, where was he? Because I'm making notes on it. I suppose if you're reading it, it just happens so fast that you don't notice. But on a scale of 1 to 10, you got the scale in your head. You're familiar with the scale I'm talking about? Well, how much did you hate this? About a dozen yards away sat a defunct food stand with a sign reading, "Soy doggies in the sand," dangling from its neo-wood awning.
I hated it quite a bit. I had it marked as a dumb sentence of the week.
Oh, sorry. I spoiled it.
On the heels of uneaten soy loaf sandwich, untasted Plaid's cup of citrus sub, this one is, if that one was a 8, I would put this one at a 6, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Is soy doggies on the sand a pun I am missing?
I am not familiar either. I think it's just, doggies making a, I know, we got the cowboy stuff coming up. What am I saying?
Exactly.
I don't know. I don't know what, I didn't spend much time trying to think of it, but it was like, I'm not immediately getting it. It just annoys me for a lot of reasons, but yeah.
So that's where Jake has crashed his sky cab, and he dives free, his preferred method of moving from one point to another. And then the bald guy comes up and says, "Nobody's going to get hurt," called a fluty voice.
I circled that 3 times. Is that synonymous with, or is this a change?
Well, 3 sentences later, it says, "We have a simple business proposition for you, Cardigan. Piped Summerson." I
guess they can go along. What are you picturing?
I just have to imagine a high pitched. That flute is a high pitched wind instrument. A pipe is the same sort of deal, I guess.
That's pretty high, though.
We have a simple business proposition for you, Cardigan.
I guess it's, higher than Mike Tyson, higher than Michael Jackson.
Nobody's going to get hurt.
I don't know. It reminded me of, I used to do telephone, both sales and telephone collection. And, you'd get a voice you couldn't determine. You'd be like,
nice.
"Hello, ma'am." Like, "I am a, fully grown man."
Yes.
I'm sorry, I apologize, But it happens, now and again. But if I had heard a fluty voice, and I probably would have said "ma'am."
Yeah. Well, is the fluty voice different than the Piper voice? Is one of them?
That's what I'm wondering.
Speaks in anger.
Can he change it? I don't know.
Or does he sound like former Bills and Boston College quarterback Doug Flutie? That could be what he is.
His fluty voice. We get his name here. I forget. Don't.
Sanders Summerson.
Yeah, and he says, "Hey, you goons, did your buddies over at Newtown send you, huh, or whatever?" And the guy goes, "Might be, maybe. Anyhow, Cardigan, they found out you were an ex-con with an unstable." I was like, "Crap! Did I give something away? I think I covered it pretty well." For our secret, under the table thing of killing people and offering them bribes and faking murders. I didn't give anything away, did I? No, I think I was good.
Yeah, good gangster intimidation talk usually doesn't involve anyhow as you're transitioning. Anyhow, I'm just going to work you over with this blackjack while you're strapped to this chair, and then I'm going to come in with the knotted rope, so work your sack over too. He piped. Jake then, of course, I think there's some other goons with him, but he stun guns Summerson. And I liked that this is how this was described. The sizzling beam snapped into Summerson's chest, and he, making an angry groaning noise, took two unintended hopping steps backward. Then he hit the beach with a splattering thud and passed into unconsciousness. So he sounds like if you dropped a garbage bag full of mayonnaise out of a fifth-story window when he hits the beach. That doesn't speak well of his bodily composition, you know. I know he's husky, yes, but like, man.
Yeah, that seems a little. It's getting towards Woodhouse there, where he had a famous one where
really?
There was a crashing noise so jarring it sounded like G.K. Chesterton landing on a large sheet of tin. Was his...
Oh, wow.
So both mean and kind of funny.
Yeah, rather indulgent.
Yes.
And then I guess it does say the sand was wet, so that perhaps add why there's more of a splatter as you fall into sand, but it's hard to imagine. But then two more husky men come charging out of the stands with drawn las guns, and Jake shoots them both as well.
Can I rise to a point of order here? Can we settle what kind of weapons? What's our arsenal here? We have las guns, stun guns, stun rods.
Okay.
Do the las guns shoot? Can you select? Are they selectable? Because I thought Jake had killed 3 people here until
we later learned he's induced a stroke in one of them.
Yeah, so he does kill one of them, but it's not for the reasons that you think.
Yeah. I feel like one of them is the stun one is a little can be dialed in. I guess the las or lays gun is a stronger weapon that is usually used more to kill, but it does seem like that would be in science fiction. It's always set phasers to stun, right? That's all of these weapons are dial-inable. I don't remember the stun rod. That's who was using that?
That comes up a little later.
Okay, got it.
But they both make sort of a sizzling sound or something. So.
It burns flesh for sure. It burns their husky flesh.
Okay. I'm very confused about weapons. So if anyone has a breakdown on that.
Sure. We learned some more stuff about Jake and his arsenal of gadgets later that I was quite amused by. Good.
Well, that's all I got. The chapter ends. Chapter ends with Cardigan killing 3 people. So I'm an unreliable narrator.
Yeah, as far as Dwight Grossman, Susan's brother, has died. Hermione, I forget what her last name was, has died in the below ground Rainforest Cafe. I don't know if anyone else has died so far. Maybe some androids have been busted up.
Hermione Earnshaw.
Earnshaw, of course.
Was Dwight Grossman's assistant?
Yes. So, both him and them have died because they were looking into Newtown Pharmaceuticals, I think, and their scheme, which is laid out completely for us in this section.
Okay. All right. Great. Okay.
It goes to next chapter starts with what I think you would refer to. You've talked about Swiss Army jokes before.
Sure.
Something that's trying to accomplish like multiple things in the same sort of line, and it does both of them less effectively. Mm-hmm. This one is Gomez was whistling quietly, but what he was feeling was uneasy. And I just feel like it has multiple subjects in the he was anyway. It annoyed me on same as the earlier breakfast order sentence on 8 out of 10.
Gomez was whistling quietly, but the but is doing a lot. Like, wait, what do we think whistling quietly implies?
Signified? Yeah.
Yes.
Whistling often goes along with a feeling of unease or trying to play it cool type of thing. So
whistling past the graveyard. Let me hit you with this sentence, which comes right after it. The night streets of Sweetwater, Texas were brightly lit and filled with noise, laughter, and music. I assume there were bats grooving in the area?
Yeah.
Lots of mojo.
Losing control,
adding to the whole atmosphere. The greatest night of noise, laughter, and music in Sweetwater, Texas history, I'm assuming.
Wow. I mean, yeah, you might have a unpleasant barrel-shaped girl passing out flyers in this seedy area, perhaps encountering Blaze Foley, a musician that we had never heard of, but has since entered my life once more after that. I think Sean recommended a song by him.
Wow. And then Uncle Rico?
Uncle Rico, yeah.
No, it wasn't Rico. That's the guy from...
That's from Napoleon Dynamite?
Napoleon Dynamite.
Okay. It has left my head very quickly.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. I just thought that was, Sweetwater, laughter, music. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah, as long as nobody from the evil fertilizer corporation shows up with his blonde androids, we're in for something there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's speaking of Westworld, they've sort of replicated that down here in Texas, where they have simulated cattle stampedes every hour on the half hour, and fake oil wells that are gushing. So it's very much frontier land essentially down here.
I noted that a continuous simulated gusher. They do have holograms are available.
Okay.
Is this an actual, is it gushing something? Anyway, that would just seem like a waste because it would be hot if it were made of water. I assume it's not oil. If it were some sort of water made to look like oil, it would be evaporating quickly, like the fountains in Las Vegas would cost a lot of money.
Sure.
Maybe we could just use a hologram here. I don't know. I'm trying to save them money at the Wildcat Hotel. That's all.
And do sky cabs and Plaz cars run on petroleum-based fuel products in 90 years? That's a question for Ron Goulart as well. We haven't gotten any fueling up scenes or Jake Cardigan driving a sky car around looking to save 5 cents a gallon or something.
Right. What's the cost company name in tech world? Hard to come up. Can someone please come up with it? Cost Plaz? I don't know. You don't have to work very hard to find it. Where the gas is 30 cents cheaper or whatever.
Yes, but there's a 30-minute line for you to wait in. So
yes, yeah. So we learned this about Gomez. I'm fascinated by Gomez, by the way. I have a picture of him that I don't know. Maybe we can put up in the below it. Who I think Gomez looks like. I sent it to Connor yesterday.
I agreed. Yeah.
But he italicizes his own Spanish when he talks to himself. Mm-hmm. So, muy loco, he advised himself. Quit giving yourself the heebie-jeebies, amigo. So he's italicizing it in a way to remind himself that he's speaking a different language when he sort of mumbles to himself after whistling quietly, of course.
Of course. Well, he's feeling uneasy.
Yeah.
I don't know. This started to have Spanish that it was Spanish that I didn't know, from Spanish 101. So he ventured into more advanced vocabulary as well in this section.
Oh, I'm assuming you're talking about the first time I was pulled up short with my knowledge of Spanish was pobrecito.
I remember that because when our Spanish teacher would patronizingly say that to us, if you're like, oh, my dog ate my homework, and she was like, oh, pobrecito.
Gotcha. Okay.
I did appreciate heebie-jeebies being something that he said too. He's a novelty comedy record producer from the 30s, as well as a Hispanic detective in the 2080s.
Watching a simulated cattle stampede every hour.
And so he is looking for Orion, Irish name, Ryan. First mention that is made of Orion is that Gomez is looking for him right now.
He is?
Hard way to go about this, because we knew Gomez was sent to Sweetwater, Texas for reasons, but Orion was not one of those reasons. I don't know. It might just be the password you need to get into here now that I'm looking back at it.
Wow. I didn't even notice that Orion, because I think by then I'd stopped looking back at people. I assumed that was the task. I'm going to find that Orion. Because then 3 names come up that I had to look back and okay, I think he was mentioned before, I guess. But you'd never remember it, ever.
Yeah. Well, then he meets, so what Orion, asking for Orion gets him is a meeting with a plump, middle-aged woman, Madame Futura. Madame Helvetica was unavailable, but I think we covered this in Last Reel or FanFic. This is a android fortune teller who flashes herself into a view screen where she then shows a video of who he's looking for, in a, I guess, hilarious twist on what you'd expect to happen when she takes off her shirt.
Is it? What's the joke on Zodiac Orion? Speaking of, well, we have another term that we can't use for jokes that joke on themselves.
Sure. Yeah.
It always bugged me that in the much revered, I'm not a fan of Doctor Strangelove. Don't kill me. It's just not one of my favorite movies. There's a Sergeant Bat Guano in it. Mm-hmm. And then someone says to him, like, Sergeant Bat Guano, if that really is your name. I'm like, but no, you named him. We know how movies work. Like, you can't, Mr. Poopy had, like, your name is Mr. Poopy? That's weird. And then you spend time talking about that? Like, no, you named him. So I don't get the Zodiac Orion thing.
Yeah,
they say some joke about it, like, what a weird name or something. It's like, yep, that's his name.
Well, it's no June-Ann Stackpool, I would say.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Well, he talks him. He wants to find out more information about this, and Zodiac Orion says it's going to cost you $3,000, and I'll arrange a meeting with someone else. So Zodiac Orion isn't even like a major player in this thing. He's just the guy who's like, I don't know, maybe I do know something, but it's going to cost you. And he slips him $20, and then he tells him that he'll arrange a meeting. So this is just an intermediary step that was pretty much just to have a robot fortune teller take off her shirt and show you the view screen.
Okay. To me, there's something about names with me, and like there's a documentary on the very popular and successful soccer player Hope Solo.
Okay,
I was like, I can't watch it. Someone's name is Hope Solo. It's not her name. It can't
a deal breaker.
It's not really. So when someone just takes the name, it's like Johnny Football. I
right.
refuse to accept that you've taken this name. We know it's not your name. So there's something about names that just annoys me. And Hope Solo, I believe it is her real name, but I can't do it. It's George Lucas. I can't do it.
I'm glad that was the breaking point for you, not like the domestic violence charge she had filed against her and all that. That was
I didn't even know that.
I'm on board with that, but like, come on.
I love everything about what she's done, everything she is, except the name Hope Solo.
Mostly like Han Solo. Is that why? It's just that's the association is too big to pass up. Yeah.
It's like Aaron Hernandez. Huge fan of everything the guy has ever done. Can't find any fault with him.
Can't get the double letters though. AA. That just doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and he dropped 2 passes in 2007. So.
Well, then you're not going to like what happens next because
okay,
we get Susan Grossman. We're back to her, and it says the tall blonde android in the spotless yellow suit smiled. My name is Emlyn. That's spelled Emlyn. You told me your name was Alan, said Susan Grossman, spelled Alyn. The android chuckled. Lots of people make that mistake. Alan and I look quite a bit alike. So what you just said annoyed you about, one of the most beloved and acclaimed movie satires of all time has just been artlessly replicated right here.
Wait a minute, though. Here's what it took me a minute to notice this. And maybe just from your printout or whatever, you didn't. That's spelled EM1YN.
I did see that, and I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if that's an OCR thing.
Oh, okay.
I have no idea.
Because I was like, if that's the case, I don't get the joke. Because it comes up later. There's a the magic 3. You always have to use 3 to close out this hilarious joke of Android.
People were sitting there being like, "Come on."
Okay, so that's just my character.
I think so. I mean, because there is another
it does say
Rex
Emlyn.
GX30 later, and so I don't think this is. But yeah, it's not. It's written with an L in the actual name when he says it.
Okay, so it's not like the movie. Is it 7 or what? When they replace, and then you have to go, or when that guy. I kind of like the movie The Witch, but it's 2 V's, so it's like the Vitch.
Sure it is.
Damn it.
Man, we have a lot of petty grievances we're airing today. Coffee machines that never turn off the lights, character names, numbers, and movie titles.
Hope Solo. What kind of a name? Sorry.
it says the room that Susie was in was larger too, and the walls were a very pale yellow. And I stopped the sentence. I was like, wait a second, the walls are a pale yellow. Emlyn and Alan were both wearing a pale yellow suit.
Yeah.
Are they this? Is this a coincidence? Is this the same yellow, but not exactly the same shade as Emlyn's spotless suit? So I was wiping my brow, very relieved to learn that they were not the same shade.
Well, I wonder, does this then throw a little cold water on your theory that she might be hallucinating? Because I was like, maybe these people are hallucinated too.
Okay.
From, the androids with the different spelling names.
Okay.
And she's eventually going to wake up, and you were there, and Emlyn was there, and it'll be a regular guy like, no, my name's Emlyn. It's spelled normally.
He's their ranch hand, yes.
Yes. Okay. Orion. Wait.
What was your thing? Because the android talks about Junan Stackpool. Is that what you're suggesting, that since he's talking about it?
Oh no, I just thought that anything that's never mind. It's
okay.
Susan talk.
Got it.
Susan's not there. He's talking about Susan. But here's a Gomez when he's talking to Orion, right? Through the chest.
Yep.
Sorry, I forgot a few notes.
Yeah.
He says he's on the shit list in Texas too. In spades, kiddo. So who put me on that list? I think I last time asked, like, do you have a shit list?
Right, yes, yep.
So anyway, that builds. But then Orion scratched at the tip of his freckled chin with his thumb knuckle.
Oh, my God.
All right.
So,
all right, let's do it.
That's how you knuckle your misty mustache?
Yeah, he knuckled his...
That's a deeply unnatural motion to do that.
He's getting close to, was it it was The Godfather where, what's his name? Marlon Brando goes like this a lot, which is obviously just an actor coming up with, I want to do something, but I want it to be different from what actual human beings do. You come to me. What is that? What's he doing?
Vito Corleone sort of had a misty mustache, right? He could have.
He did, yes. The mistiest.
Yeah, that's just getting into bad improv character territory, being like, you're always rubbing your chin with your thing like this. Like, yep, that's my character. That's how I differentiate myself from the other guys in the scene.
I read a criticism of sorry, this is a far-ranging, this is all of our little irritations of the original True Detective. And Matthew McConaughey had a thing that he discovered in his character, but he asked everyone, did he have scars all over his face? And he would always do the same exact gesture. He had some sort of like scars. Like, no, I know what scars are. You don't have to. Scars on his face is a pretty, like, face is right there, scars. I would let you know.
Looks like he's preparing a cocktail at a fancy...
Yeah. And if he didn't say words, you'd be like, hockey mask? Is he wearing a hockey mask? Is he some sort of helmet? No, I don't know.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey trying to charade scars for people at a dinner party. Go. Come on, it's obvious. So is that it for this section for you? After,
yes, it is.
We get that, and then Emlyn, who they emphasized was also a man. I was like, I thought that was sort of a feminine name, but we get an even more one later. But it does specify that he crossed his legs.
Okay, so all right, so the Emlyn and then spelled is just a character capture error.
Yeah, deeply annoying.
Okay,
sorry about that. Chapter 24 starts with Walt Bascom discovering that his daughter Casey has come to visit. Mm-hmm. And he greets her by saying, "Why are you squatting out here?" Mm-hmm. Which I don't know. I think you should greet your sons like that when they come for Thanksgiving dinner or something like that. When you open the door, it just is a nice way to greet your beloved children.
Yeah, squatting is in the news now and everything too. So, kick her out of there as soon as you can. Otherwise, the squatting laws will come into, and you'll never get rid of her.
Terms from probably the 30s. That's like, we haven't updated this for squatting. Like it's sort of a very specific connotation other than occupying a building you don't own. So we're just going to use the same word.
We're we got to update our cold cocking laws, stuff like that. What's with the? I'm going to put this solely on Shatlart's shoulder. Here's a sentence. Weren't you supposed to be annoying? I mean, working with Jake Cardigan? She gave an annoyed head shake. He seems to have ditched me. I don't credit that as a joke. I don't credit that as intentional. I credit that as just crappy writing.
Lazy, yeah.
Lazy and crappy.
Yeah, Goulart seems like a self-editor as well.
Nobody edits Goulart.
Either that or nobody edits Goulart is just a edict from the publishing company that's like, that would cost what, $2,000? No, not for Tek Kill. Are you kidding?
Like the cover is it. Here, I've got the cover's already done.
Yeah, the cover artist has signed many people's books. So they just say, I'm supposed to be helping Jake Cardigan with this investigation, but now I can't find him. Can you help me out with that? The father has a sort of crackling Sorkinian dialogue retort to her. What are you up to, father? You look, by the way, awfully dejected and downcast. Being arrested for murder can have that effect, he explained. And then they had this exchange, which is very similar to the one you just pointed out. He's going to go up to Frisco to nose around. Taking your sky car? Nope, using a sky shuttle. Fact is, Ambrose is going to fly me over to the Skyport any minute now. And I just imagine Samuel L. Jackson in Pulp Fiction. Say sky again! But it's 3 times in 3 sentences there, combined to 3 different other words. Sky car, sky shuttle, and Skyport.
Yes, and so just to get this straight, because aren't there 2 Caseys? Sorry, I'm trying.
No, there are not. There's a K, I believe, and also maybe a Kim. Yeah, there's.
So we screwed it up last time, and someone corrected us, I believe.
Yes, right. Yeah, we thought it was his. We didn't realize it was his daughter, or we thought it was someone else's daughter. We thought it was Bracken's daughter, I think.
Okay,
she works for Bracken.
Bracken is.
J.J. Bracken is future Rush Limbaugh.
Rush Limbaugh. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
All right. And then the detective whom Jake sort of is supposed to be working with is named what?
I think that's Casey right here, right? That she's been assigned to. She goes to meet him in the Caribbean.
Oh, she does. Okay.
Yeah, that's why she's looking for him now. She says, I'm supposed to be working with him, but I can't locate him. And her dad responds, maybe I can help you locate him. Which is just another instance of using the same word back-to-back in sentences that I found deeply annoying.
Okay, I guess I was in my mind transposing her with Bev Kendricks.
Yes.
Damn,
who
seems
is not
like
Beth
she should
Kittredge.
have. Yes, yeah. Okay. Okay, so we go to the. Do you have any more in that section?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
We go to the twins.
Newtown
right?
Pharmaceutical Corporation founders, Roland and.
Becky? No.
Roland and Rebecca Burden.
Okay. Roland crossed to his desk and picked up one of the working models of NPC's newest mood gun. Now, it turns out the mood gun is just a shot of chemicals, so it's not really a gun, right?
Sure.
The drug already exists, so the real, the gun part of it is just total gimmick. It is just to add to the cost of the mood gun.
Oh, sure. Yeah, exactly. It's like
because
that
it's
Juicero juicer they made that was like all it did was squeeze a packet of juice that you could do by your hand. $500 because it's a smart juicer.
Yeah, I guess it's like, an inkjet printer or something like that. You got to buy the mood gun replacement cartridges. You can't but can't I just buy the mood enhancer drug by the gallon and just squirt it into my own arm? And you cannot.
Yeah, this used to be so much easier when I could just get heroin on the street in a condom from some guy and then go back to a thing with a spoon. Man, those good old days.
Now, excuse me while I drink my Nespresso, which is totally open system. Wow. Okay.
So he is going to inject himself with the mood gun, despite the computer saying, I guess this mood gun is something they're working out onto the market. The computer says, this is just a prototype. I don't recommend doing this. And he's like, lay off. And then he decides to inject himself happiness, joy, or euphoria. I don't think I can handle euphoria today. We'll settle for just plain happy. After setting the dial, he touched the tip of the barrel to his arm and squeezed the trigger. A tiny needle came jabbing out. It dug into his flesh and delivered a shot of mood-altering drug into his system. The spot where the needle entered felt cold for nearly a minute.
Yes. Specific periods of time.
Nearly specific periods of time. They're just on the verge. It would drive James Wynn nuts if he read this. Just make it a minute. Why?
Also, needles shouldn't dig into flesh, should they? I mean, they should kind of slide, right? Pretty effortlessly. I don't like that dig into his flesh. Like, yeah. I once had I had to have a suture on my ankle, unrelated to this.
Oh my God.
And the woman had to give me, at the emergency room, gave me shots around the wound that was in my ankle. And do I have to give a warning here for the squeamish?
That's probably will suffice.
An open wound, and then she was giving me shots. I would be very upset if the needle was digging into my flesh. I was like, well, it's not pleasant, but she's like, it's a very tiny needle. I'm like, okay, I'll accept it. Just don't dig it into my flesh. But she
singing
didn't.
like a chain gang song as it's digging down into your causing pain. So I like this too, because the computer has been like, I don't know if you should do that, and then he asks the computer, where the hell is Becky? She's not at home. Or, hey, I don't give a shit where she isn't. Tell me where she is. Which is how I used to talk to my Bonzi buddy when I had that installed on my computer. I would just berate it day in and day out.
And it would pop up at the bottom.
Hello.
But I'm just happy that computers are so quick to get along with one another and pass information. So the computer says, I'll check with the household computer, said the computer. Yes, your sister seems to have taken 2 small leather bags from the bedroom of her beach house. So you didn't really need to say you were going to check with
Sure.
the house. Hang on. And then they go like nose around in the back room like, hey, look, I got to come back with information about where his sister is. But do you guys want to... you want to spark one really quick?
Yeah, because usually these computers are freezing for almost 30 seconds, and then it comes back, and which we explored last time, as thinking the computer had hung up, but that one was pretty instantaneous.
Instantaneous. Yeah, let me check. Yep, she's gone. So she's in the Laguna sector.
Okay.
At her beach house. So lots of beach houses in this one.
She's fled the Laguna sector, I believe, to...
she's taken 2 small from the bedroom of her beach house in the Laguna sector. My apologies.
And the chapter ends with this exciting cliffhanger where Roland instructs the computer to send a memo to Riesbersen in research and development. Tell that dimwit that the happiness drug in our new mood gun doesn't work for sour apples. We sadly never get a Riesbersen scene. This is his only mention. He's a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern of the book.
It would be nothing to Goulart to cut to him very quickly and have someone with a clipboard run in and say, hey, Riesbersen, I think he's in back. And then head back there and find him, and then Riesbersen, with 2 test tubes. Your new mood gun doesn't work for sour apples. And he's like, sour apples? We haven't had apples for 400 years. What? Oh, You mean sour plazas. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, neutriples. The evil twin is on his way down to intercept his other twin because he fears she's up to no good, and he is clearly illustrated to be not a tech addict, but some sort of other drug user in this chapter.
It's going to be exciting when he meets when the evil twin meets his nice twin, and everyone's going to be like, which one is it? And it's like, oh, wait, it's a man and a woman. Okay.
Chapter 25 has Molly, Dan Cardigan's girlfriend, saying that they need to consult with Rex/GK30. And deeply annoying that they force that upon us over and over again instead of just saying one of those 2 things. Mm-hmm. I don't know why Rex/GK30 has 2 names, but if I was going to be saying his name out loud multiple times like she does, I would commit to one of them, probably the shorter one, Rex.
I mean, there's a reason Microsoft Bob came out, because very easy
and
to
was
remember.
A huge success because people were not calling it Bob/BX40.
was the Hope Solo of computer programming systems.
Whew.
Sorry.
The hairs on her neck are standing up somewhere being like, wow, some guys on a moderately popular podcast are really sticking it to me today. One of them made accusations about some sort of crime I committed in the past that he should probably verify are correct before we put this out. There's an autocomplete for it, so there we go. Yeah. She was arrested on 2 counts of domestic violence in 2015.
I don't know anything about her.
Huge. So then, speaking of annoying things of the future, we get this sentence from Dan, I think. He's too busy. I have to hit the study lab and work on my electronic forensics CD paper. And just, this was what, 1989?
Did you? Yeah, I stopped and went, he can't mean CD, so what does that mean?
I think he does. In his head, I would love to know what futuristic thing he was creating by combining those two things in 1989, before most commercial CD-ROMs were available.
I guess since he spelled out Citrusub, there would be no reason to hold back on CD if it means something other than compact disc, I guess.
Maybe a paper that you turn in on a CD, like that's how you would be submitting all reports in the future. A physical burned CD.
Okay, that's probably what it is.
I mean...
so that's a very quick... I don't even know why that's in there. Like, we already knew they were looking for it, right?
They just suspect their friend Susan has been taken back by the evil Dr. Stolzer.
So, now we beam many miles away to the bright morning sun of the clear Caribbean sky.
Yes.
Okay, and he is surveilling. Jake is surveilling Castle Maldito. He's going on a tour. Blah blah blah. That's where someone is mentioned. And yes. I assume you have notes, and we can get back to it. I just want to give you this quick quiz. Newtown Pharma consisted of 3 oval-shaped buildings. We don't have many construction materials mentioned in this book, okay. But if you had to guess what the 2 were that it was constructed out of, could you pull it off?
I'm going to say Plascrete and Neowood.
Oh, Plastaglass and Neowood. 75% I'm going to give you on that.
I got
one.
too
well
clever.
Done.
And Neowood had been earlier in something else we were annoyed by in this specific episode, so that's why it was on my mind.
Yes. Anyway, before that, yes, he's taking a tour.
He's taking a tour. There's 5 tourists along with him. One of them is a slim teenager who complains that some of the cannons in the old Caribbean fort look fake. Mm-hmm. She calls them a lot of bunk. And then this was a detail I was amused by. It says, as he stood studying the place, the band at his wrist phone started to throb, telling him someone was trying to contact him. So Jake has always been and is always wearing a wrist phone. This is the only mention of such a device in the book, which I thought was just a fun little, incredibly stupid, sloppy detail.
But I think they should always, phones that ring should, when Goulart mentions them, like if he's going to do a book that takes place, or he cut back to, our day, or previous to our day, where a phone is signaling that you should answer it, he should point out that it's ringing. Otherwise, the wrist phone, we wouldn't have known that it was throbbing, telling him someone was trying to contact him. I just want to be clear about what all things they're doing, like the phone rang, telling people that they should probably pick the phone up.
But to his credit, since he picked the word throb as being what the wrist phone was doing, you might be like, yeah, what is this, some sort of weird, pleasure device? Like, what's going on with this? Oh, that means it's ringing. You just picked a very odd way of saying that, you weird hack.
Haven't seen that word since we read The Mister, I have to say that.
But the person on the line is his coworker, Karen. Who says... that's where she says one of the men used stun guns suffered a serious stroke and isn't expected to. He cuts her off. I walk again, live, recover. Who knows? And then she says the man you claim was Malcolm Summerson turned out to be a harmless gym instructor from the Oxnard sector. I don't know what's going on with that. It was clearly the piping voice guy, although his voice was fluting too. So maybe it was not the same guy.
There's versions of him. And in a previous, when they put up his mugshot, didn't he have a fright wig and a Groucho Marx mustache on?
True, that is correct.
So
yeah.
Who knows? But his name was Malcolm Summerson. Hello, I'm Malcolm Summerson. If that's Malcolm, not fluty enough for you,
take off that ridiculous wig, Malcolm. It's workplace picture day. But then, yes, after we got through all of that, he is essentially going back to the tour group, and the teenager says, hey, like, are you okay? Essentially, because she's worried he had suffered a seizure or something. And he says, you'd better get back to the group. My name's Katrina Belson. Pleased to meet you, Katrina. And you're who? Simply an aging tourist. He walked away from her. So we get introduced to the slim teenager. She gets her full name out there, Katrina Belson. Mm-hmm. She is never mentioned again. And so you wonder, was he like, doing a Kickstarter thing where, like, for the $500 backer level, you'll get your full name in the book for a character.
That's me. I'm in there.
I'm in a terrible book. But of course, it also reminded me of one of the most beloved moments in Riff Trax history, where a character did a full introduction of not only himself, but his entire posse. And you got to share, enable screen sharing, so I can play this clip.
Oh, okay. You're going to play it live.
Yes.
We'll do it live.
Yes, we're going to introduce this character live.
All right.
I'll write the thing.
And we'll do it live. All right. I believe you should
Yes, I've got it.
Sharing capabilities.
Here it is. This is the Katrina Belson of the movie Ghost House.
Oh, yeah? It's mine.
You live here?
No. We're here on vacation. My camper's parked out in the yard. I'm here with my brother and his girlfriend. Our sister Tina's with us, too. My name's Jim Dalen.
Okay, we don't need your life story.
Oh.
Wow.
My brother and his girlfriend. Our sister Tina's with us, too, as a very weird way to introduce people. And then lastly, I'm Jim Dalen. Oh. I nearly caused a wreck while we were in Norway because we passed a thing called Dalen's Campground, spelled the same way, and I spun the car around to take a picture of it to send to you guys because his camper's parked out back. It could have been his actual camper.
Would have been great if your car had rolled 7 times. You were all okay, but everything,
it would have
strewn about the car, and Lauren going, what? Now, hang on.
Yeah,
I know you have some questions.
Or if it, had, for God forbid, resulted in a fatal accident, and you had been like, well, we've got to make a pilgrimage to the place Connor died, and you see that sign, and you're like, no, this can't possibly be the reason. This can't be a coincidence. Like this, he turned around. The tire marks did indicate he was traveling quite fast.
And the Norwegian cop notice anything? And I'm like,
I can't. I must let him die with dignity. His parents must never know.
So we go to
Katrina Belson.
Yes. So after Katrina, we get the section over thing, and we're at a new place. But the San Pellegro Country Club overlooked the Atlantic in the Newtown complex.
Okay.
So this is the same place, right?
Jake is still in the Caribbean, yeah.
Okay. He's just found a way in to the Newtown complex.
Yes. This is a person that he is meeting who is been given money to arrange another meeting to arrange a meeting. Just amazing stuff that this keeps happening in this section.
I want to test you on this one. When you got to this, did this bring you up short? Hop to it, Gov, urged the bot. His nibs doesn't like to be kept waiting. His nibs?
Capital N in nibs.
I mean, I
a
feel
Brit
like this
bot, right?
from the... Yes, but I don't think it's used anymore. I think it's only used in jest. Like, it's so archaic. Like 19th century.
Wow.
I think there's a collectible like oyster can called like His Nibs Oysters or something.
Wow.
Like, or something like that. It's just so old. His nibs. I use that jokingly for our kids. Like, I don't think his nibs is going to be too happy about this. I think
You've used it before?
yes, because I think
Wow.
my
All
wife
right.
was like, you have to stop doing
Yeah,
that.
you're going to warp our children. They're going to say that at school and have to go see the counselor.
Yeah.
But is it like an old Cockney thing where it was like it became like a 3 generations of rhyming slang or something?
Since it's capitalized, was it a person? I don't know. I don't
Wow.
know.
All right. Well, it did. Maybe he brings it back then. He says, "How come you're green?" His nibs is absolutely dotty over the color. So it certainly wasn't a one-off.
No.
But his nibs turned out to be a very plump man of about 60.
Sure.
And he's like sort of dressed like, I don't know, some old freak from like a Roald Dahl book or like an old Burning Man hippie or something. A suit of red, yellow, and green flowered material, and his white hair and beard were tinted a pale blue. Or maybe one of those Hunger Games weirdos from like the rich community, I guess. And he's Monty Folkestone.
Mm-hmm. I think he's like supposed to be a modern version of Sidney Greenstreet from Casablanca.
Okay.
Like, come in, my boy, come in, come in. I'm Monty Folkestone. Like, I never liked you, Folkestone, but
right. Yeah, sit and drink with me. No, I got stuff to do.
yeah. He placed $750 in my bank's account as Rosy Fingered Dawn was tripping across the. So really pouring it on thick here.
Yeah, Goulart's like, what if I introduced another character that talked in old-timey archaic slang like I clearly talk like in real life and just want to have more stand-ins for me in this book? I enjoyed that. So this guy's going to arrange like meet and greets with some of the elites down here in the Caribbean, and he does this for $750, which by this point in time has got to be like the cost of a beer at a baseball game in 2080 or something, right? Like things are.
I would think so. Yeah, like inflation doesn't go; it keeps going up. So
he's doing this for a token sum. So maybe he's just it does it for the fun, and that's just he has to charge something.
Yes, he calls him dear boy. Stroked his bluish beard. What's what's the movie we did? It's the French director Luc Besson.
Fifth Element.
Fifth Element. Is
Yeah,
that
that's
the
another
character
one.
like
He's
going
sort of-
into a back room and being like, "Hello, come in, dear boy."
Right. Yeah. People. The Chris Tucker character had sort of blue hair, I think.
Did you like my way around to that movie, by the way, instead of saying the Bruce Willis movie with,
Sure.
directed by Luc Besson?
It does sicken me that I immediately knew what you were saying too. There wasn't even a hint. Like, I think there was a joke about Luc Besson in the beginning of it that I've always remembered. Second movie we ever did at Riff Tricks.
One of my beloved family members once gave a clue in one of the a table game, like that was, I don't know, he's married to that crazy girl. We're like, more information. Married to the crazy, and then it ends, and it turns out it's talking about Tom Cruise. Well, wasn't one of his wives kind of nutty?
Oh my God,
Tom Cruise. He was married to that crazy.
Did you think there were restrictions? Like, you can't say his name.
No,
You can
there was
certainly
no
say
restrictions. Like
the names
that.
of some of the
was
most
the
famous movies of all time that he's been in.
That's the only thing I could come up with.
Well, yeah, let's work more Luc Besson movies way into
Yes.
by ways of doing that. Yeah, she was in that Luc Besson movie. Oh yeah, she was also in like all 3 of the Star Wars prequels. Okay.
Right.
So he says he's going to introduce him to some of the bigwigs down here, and he says tonight you'll be attending a gala party at the mansion of Mrs. Cardwell, a very important local dowager, albeit a certain pain in the bottom. So there are, as you said, his nibs, but like there are 1930s Marx Brother foil dowagers here.
Dowager?
In the Caribbean?
Besides describing a 1930s movie, have you ever used the word dowager? No human has used that word. I don't know.
What does it mean? Is it a
I
rich
think it just
widow?
means a
from the-
rich widow is all it means, right?
No, yeah, it doesn't seem to come up a lot these days.
And then, of course, at this soiree, Jake, my boy, be sure to strike up acquaintances with... All right, now I'm already looking up Mrs. Cardwell, not finding anything. You strike up acquaintances with Hazel McKay and Theo Kleiner. No, I'm not going to look those up. Have they been mentioned?
I don't believe so. He does meet Hazel McKay briefly. Theo Kleiner, I don't recall if he does. But
I don't think he ever comes up again.
I just like to recall the progression of this meeting. He took a phone call over his phone, so that was sort of a meeting. He meets Katrina Belson, the surly teenager. He then has a meeting with this guy to arrange 2 more meetings. So I mean, I feel like that was I think one of our episode titles in the first Tech War was like meetings about Bennett Sands and Sonny Kokori, because they would just do those. So Goulart, for being this sort of roguish guy, does seem to like just classic. He's one of those guys that just fills up his workday with meetings and calls it a success.
Guys just rolling out of their sky cars, going right into meetings. Oh, thank you for rolling in here. If you could just take a seat, we'll start in a moment. Do you have any water preferences?
Yes.
Yeah.
God. That's the end of that chapter. We then go back to Texas. Where...
hang on.
Oh, sorry.
The last line of the chapter.
Okay, right. Yes.
Hard to if I were to give you this line and then say what author do you think wrote this, you would not mistake it. So here we go. Grinning, he left the plump man and the green robot.
No other person could assemble those words in that order and with that punctuation.
Planet Earth. Yeah, perfect.
Have we done a plump search yet? We must have, but that is stunning if that's true. It says there's only 10 plumps.
Is there chunky, husky?
Yeah, husky,
there's
sure.
Thin face, there's wiry, I don't know.
Yeah.
He's clearly fascinated with that.
All right, well, maybe we should actually, instead of venturing to Texas, we should stay here in the Caribbean and do a Caribbean-inspired round of real or fanfic.
Fanfic. Real, fanfic, real, fanfic, 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 real, fanfic, real.
This has been the third time we're going to do this segment as both of us competing. And we have had our beloved listeners, Josh and Colette, who have compiled these from the submissions of our jackals. And Colette reads them. The jackals, by the way, are at patreon.com/372pages, where you get all these a week early, and you get all the other bonus stuff that we don't post anywhere else, like the Encyclopedia Brown we did with John Hodgman last week. That was pretty fun.
Yeah, I teamed up with the great Judge John Hodgman himself to try to solve it. I think it's my first solve in a while, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Nice. So yeah, go check them out. It's very fun, and we appreciate everyone who supports the podcast. But so these are going to be 5, I believe, still 5 segments from the listeners. They could all be real. They could all be fanfic. Colette's going to read them, and then after each one, we will pause and make our own simultaneous guesses.
Yes.
So let me just take some notes about that too. All right. Let me share the screen again, and we will do real or fanfic.
Okay.
Sharing. Here we go.
Number 1. The door slid slowly open, and a metallic voice invited, "Step in here, Mr. Cardigan, if you please." The room beyond the door was furnished like a parlor. There were 2 white enameled metabots seated in it, each in a striped armchair. One of the bots said, "Do you object to a blood test?"
"For identity, sir." "Matter of fact, I do," replied Jake. "Tell Krishnovic I'll find a lawyer on my own, and hot-headed as advertised."
A large, frizzy-haired man of about 50 had entered through a side door. He wore a polka-dot sin-silk robe, and the part of his broad chest that showed was thick with fuzzy, grayish hair.
"You should have learned by now, Tovarish, that your fiery temper doesn't gain you anything, except extended stays in prisons like the Freezer."
Jake eyed him. "Walt Bascom recommended you," he said.
"I sure as hell can't see why. It's because I happen to be the best, as well as the sneakiest lawyer in all of the South," said the big man. "Now, sit yourself in one of these chairs, and we'll have a discussion of your problem."
"It could be that I don't want to talk to you."
"Don't be a ninny, Kapusta. Nobody else is going to be able to help you spring your wayward son from that work camp."
"And you can do it legally?" Krishnovic laughed.
Heh! There's no legal way to do it, Cardigan, he informed him. But there are several really terrific illegal ones. Sit down.
Jake sat down.
Wow, that was
boy.
a long one.
Yeah.
Sound changed in the middle of that.
Is it okay? I put it on my headphones just so it wouldn't pick up on my microphone.
Oh, okay. There was an echo, and then
Yeah,
it
I think
was,
my
it was
microphone's probably
quiet.
picking it up. Yeah.
So if you can boost it for the next one, it was
Okay.
It was hearable.
Okay.
That was a long one.
Yeah, really. But
All right, you ready to guess?
yes. 3, 2, 1. Real. Okay.
Not gonna lie, the length of it made me.
Yeah.
tilted
Why would
me
someone
towards real?
go through that effort to write that much fanfic?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Here's the next one.
Number 2. When Casey Bascom stepped off the tennis court after winning a match with the San Pellegro Country Club Probot, a large green robot was waiting for her on the simulated mosaic passway.
Afternoon, Mum.
The mechanical man touched a green finger to his green forehead. Halting, Casey said, "Yes?"
You'd be the associate of this Jake Cardigan bloke, wouldn't you?
"Whom do you represent?"
The Gov wants to have a bit of a chat with you, explained the bot. He was intending to sell some tidbits of info to Cardigan, but Lord, Cardigan ain't to be found on the whole bloomin' island.
"You must work for Monty Folkestone."
That's dead right, Mum, answered the robot. If you was to stroll down to the beach and stop at the first immense fat chap you see, that'd be the Gov.
Monty Folkestone, wearing an ample flowered beach robe and a wide-brimmed sin straw hat, was relaxing in a large and sturdy sling chair. He was sipping a chilled plas flask of upper cola and gazing with dark glasses out at the hazy afternoon sea.
Miss Bascom, so good to see you, my dear,
he said as she approached him across the hot sand.
I take it your esteemed father is in good spirits in spite of his sorry plight.
"You have something to sell?" She crouched beside his chair.
Ah, right to business, is it? Admirable.
"Jake Cardigan is away, so you can deal directly with me."
Such was my assumption, dear lady,
The fat man chuckled.
If I'm not mistaken, you and the stalwart Mr. Cardigan are interested in the goings-on at yon Newtown plant.
All right.
Somewhat lengthy.
we can, yeah, they don't need to be this long. We can, a few things tipped my hand on that one, but I'm ready to vote.
All right, I am too.
All right, 3, 2, 1. Fanfic.
Fanfic. Okay.
Plas fast.
Well, wait a minute now. We read that sentence about citrus sub and soy loaf, and
You never know. But yeah, it was like something mechanical man again. Probot, I think she said. The tennis pro. Settle down. All right.
Number 3. "Gomez, Cardigan, my office, now!" shouted Anselmo, his husky face flushed red with anger.
Caramba,
Gomez said, exchanging a glance with Jake.
now what?
"Can't be good," said Jake as they started sauntering toward his office. "Close the door," Anselmo barked at Jake from behind his desk before turning to Gomez.
Sid, what in the name of holy sanity is this?
"My expense report," he said, glancing at the printout Anselmo held in his thick fingers.
It is a full and accurate account of the dinero I spent out of my own pocket to clear the jefe,
Gomez added.
What's wrong with that, Roy? Jake interjected. Filing expense reports is standard business procedure here at the Cosmos Detective Agency.
Anselmo's face turned a deeper shade of red.
What's wrong with that? May I remind you, in point of fact, expense reports are for business expenses, not personal expenses. Amigo, these are all business expenses,
Gomez protested. Anselmo exploded.
What's this line for renting a clown suit?
He shouted, his face turning an electric shade of crimson. Number
Okay. I think I have mine.
Okay. 3, 2, 1. Fanfic. Okay.
Shoot, this is like playing baseball. I mean, I'm never going to get above the 500 level. If we're answering the same, I have no,
We're answering what we think is correct.
Like, I beat the Tigers, but Cleveland still beats, the Angels. I haven't made up any ground.
Correct.
So,
yeah. Well, you can either strike out at things you think are incorrect and hope that I answer wrong,
yeah, go for long shots, you're saying?
Yes, exactly.
It's time to start playing for long shots. All right.
All right.
Number 4. The pale blue sky van had Tex-Mex catering emblazoned on its side in golden letters. Gomez, hunched in the pilot seat, was flying it through the dusk in the general direction of Mexico.
Once we arrive in the land of my ancestors, Cara, he was saying, I can arrange to have Senor Moyak shipped very unobtrusively up to Greater L.A. and to the arms of the Cosmos Detective Agency, from whence he'll be handed over to the minions of law and order. They, in turn, will persuade him to repeat the story he told me about rigging the Bascom sec tapes. Of course, the cops probably won't use a true disc, but they'll be able to persuade him to babble a bit.
Marnie was sitting next to him, the fingers of her left hand drumming on the control dash. With her right hand, she was fiddling with the security screen scanners. "What's that, Gomez, darling?"
I've been outlining my brilliant plan for transporting Moyak, who slumbers back in Pantry 2 on this crate, from Texas to SoCal by way of Mexico.
Brother.
That one's a little tougher. But I think I have my answer.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Fanfic.
Okay.
Oh, damn. See,
I think someone just went a little
what happens, I've made up no ground.
I think someone... You're still trying to get your best possible score. But I feel like someone on that one went a little like they did the reserved fanfic. They weren't trying to be wacky.
Yeah.
All right. And keep in mind, these are all from the final section of the book. Like, this is the...
Yes.
So whatever's happening here has to be resolving the story. All right, last one.
Number 5. Jake woke with a start, feeling like his head had been hit by an air truck. He sat up and took stock of his surroundings. He found himself in a room made to resemble a tropical beach. Beneath him was what felt like neo-sand. The walls were covered with several TV screens playing looping footage of the ocean, with the sound of waves and seagulls piping in from ceiling-mounted speakers. A door slid open, and in walked a slate-gray android holding a mug of beer.
Oi, bruv, so this be where you scampered off to?
The android gulped down its beer and simulated a belch.
Does that, Jake asked, even do anything for you? Nah, but what kind of cockney bot would I be if I weren't taking swigs of the king's piss?
Jake shook his head and pulled himself to his feet.
Just where am I? You get your noggin boggered, you daft boffin. You're in the robot brothel and you paid for an hour of me time.
All right. Last one.
Okay. Going
Ready?
for the long shot.
3, 2, 1. Fanfic.
Real.
Wow. All right. Hail Mary is up.
Yeah.
Would Jacob never thought to ask whether robots can drink beer before this moment in his life? But anyway, we'll see.
Hey, we didn't know he was wearing a watch, okay?
Yeah, it's true. Great voice work, too. All right, let's hear the answers.
Thanks for that.
So number 1, we both said real.
Number 1 was Cardigan meeting with Krishnovic to see if he could get Dan out of jail, and that was real.
All right.
All right.
Dawn.
Submitted by Dawn. Thank you, Dawn. The next one, we both said fanfic.
Number 2 is Casey meeting with Monty Folkestone after the tennis match. That was real.
Oh, my God.
Oh, shoot.
Submitted by Chap, she said. Oh, wow. That is ridiculous.
Holy moly.
I'm disgusted. Number 3, we both said fanfic.
Number 3 was Anselmo calling Gomez and
Expense
Jake
reports.
to his office about the clown suit bill, and that was fanfic.
Okay.
Submitted by Craig.
Okay.
Number
4, we both said fanfic also.
4 was Gomez driving the Tex-Mex catering van with Marnie, and that was real.
Oh, my
submitted
God.
by Hayden. Number
So
I'm doomed.
we're both 2 for 2. 2 for 4. Number 5, Oh, sorry, that was 3?
No, that was 4.
That was 4. And then so the last one, I said fanfic, you said real.
Yeah.
Number 5 was Jake waking up with the Cockney bot, and that was fanfic submitted by Daniel.
I knew it was fanfic. I had to try something. I had to shake the trees.
Yeah, it's like putting in the punter as quarterback or something when you've got no other options.
Yep.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for those delightful
right.
submissions. Some of them quite tricky. Wow.
Very tricky.
Well, let's go back to Texas then, where Gomez...
Let me get my mojo on. Yes. Okay.
You're going to be a man who's rightfully trying to get rabid bats out from under a public infrastructure and will be vilified and demonized. The air in the long Plaswald corridor smelled convincingly of horses and cattle. So speaking of another book, they've got the Ready Player One Stink Tower wafting in authentic, some people, I guess, find barnyard scents pleasing, but smell of horses and cattle, or someone was synthesizing that in a lab, being like, no, doesn't have
it
enough.
comes up later. I'm like, why? What? I don't like it. Like, simulated. Have you ever been to a town that has a paper mill nearby?
No.
One of the most revolting smells. It hangs in the air for 40 miles around.
God.
You wouldn't simulate it because, hey, we synthesize paper now from in our synth machines, but we like the smell of the... Like, no, it's not a smell you need.
When you go to Colonial Williamsburg, they're not like, now we didn't have, underground sewers in our time. The filth just ran through the streets, and of course there was hogs being rendered to get their tallow, so the air will be very unpleasing while you're here doing the candle-making demonstration.
We used to tan leather by putting it in rotten sheep's brains and letting it ferment for 3 months. Yeah. So enjoy the odors of rotted sheep brains.
And bathing... a luxury. So none of us, any reenactors, will have ever done that.
But it does open with, so one carried a Neo leather saddle on his shoulder, while the other carried a lariat in his left hand. So wait, Neo leather, but then there are just lariats?
Well, it's made of Neo rope. It's not specified.
Okay. Not specified. I want it specified.
And that is those are like android robots, android cowboys. And he keeps passing doors for the robotic rodeo when he runs into Pistol Pack and Marnie, who greets him and comments on the cute little pot belly you're developing. Makes you look even more like a fuzzy teddy bear. And I guess they go way back or something. He says, the cut of my jacket gives the illusion that I have a slight paunch.
Wow, that's what I always say.
Yeah. They pass a door labeled robotic rodeo Native American androids, and 2 mechanical men in authentic Indian outfits stepped into the corridor. I wish they had elaborated more on that. I like the idea that there's just authentic Indians.
Authentic.
Are they from the west coast of the country, or the east? The 2 people that never encountered each other. But anyway. you know what I'm getting at here, as Ron Goulart.
An Italian guy who runs a pizza place. We all know what we're talking about here.
And he walks with Marnie going to meet Al Levinsky. Is that correct?
It is correct.
Pass from Zodiac Orion.
I'm enraged by that. Who is Al Levinsky? Have we heard this yet?
It's the person they had the meeting to arrange a meeting with. They had a virtual meeting. He met with the fortune teller to talk to Zodiac Orion to arrange this meeting.
Wow.
And keep in mind, the first meeting he had to arrange this meeting conducted over a telescreen, like we're doing right now.
Yes.
He probably could have done that from the Santa Monica sector, let alone travel to the Sweetwater sector of Texas to do all this stuff.
Agreed.
But it turns out Al Levinsky will not be someone we add to our list of characters that have actually met, because he is tumbled down on the floor in a twisted sprawl, was a fat, balding man. They'd used a laser gun on him, and there wasn't much left of his upper back. Gomez knelt beside the dead man. And he does like wait, this is Levinsky and Marnie who we know has been paid to trail Gomez and report on his location, does the, like, they weren't supposed to kill anybody. Like, so she tips her hand to him in that moment.
And that is where my Spanish stops as the next one.
Okay.
¿Qué dices?
Yes, that's like,
What does
what are
that
you
mean?
talking? What are you talking about?
Okay. Oh, dices as in speak.
Like, what did you say?
What are you
Yeah, like,
saying?
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
So then she's like, "We got to get out of here," and then I'll explain this all. I'll explain this all later, which works just fine because it cuts away from that moment to back to Jake in the Caribbean and starts introducing other characters. This was one you texted me in a rage about.
I'm enraged. All right. I'll read it. Okay. So he's at the place. There's holographic fire. Oh, okay. He's at the Cardwell estate.
He's at the
which
soiree.
he paid $750
To meet
which
with the
is
Dowager's estate.
$13.75 in modern terms. The name Dorothy spread across the blackness. That's the Dorothy Cardwell, right?
Cardwell is the Dowager. Dorothy is
Dorothy.
introduced in a few lanes.
Here we
in a few
go.
Lines.
So he's like, so the name Dorothy, and I'm like, what is this surrender Dorothy? What is going on here?
Yeah.
Who, our hostess, turning, Jake found himself facing a tall black woman of about 50. No, thin, fat, I don't...
Well, no, for Goulart, black is the third thing you can be. It's either trim, plump, or black.
And here's where my rage sets in. She was wearing a simple red sin silk party dress and holding a Plaz glass. We already have synthesized silk. We already have it. Our hostess? No. Dorothy Sartain, the gymnast from Portugal. This wingding here tonight is in her honor. Didn't you read your invitation? What is this? What is happening? Do I have to care? We never have met this woman before, right? He didn't. The colorful guy with the blue beard didn't go, when you go there, make sure you make a big deal about Dorothy Sartain, the gymnast from Portugal. Yeah. It's never come up, right?
The wealthy dowager, who you will not meet, is throwing a party for Dorothy Sartain, the gymnast from Portugal, who you also will not meet. So these details, Jake, are not important. In fact, let's not even say their names.
So this is just a one-off.
Oh, yeah. It's like the surly teenager he met. It's someone who paid the higher tier of Kickstarter to get their name in the book. This probably had even more because they got to provide a little backstory for themselves.
And then, so the person who he asks what is going on with Dorothy being written in the sky, of which there is a precedent that we're all familiar with, but it's not that at all. That I am. You're Jake Cardigan, aren't you? That I am, and you are? She leaned close to him. Hazel McKay, she said softly, causing me to dive back into my character list to go, who the hell is Hazel McKay?
But was he the one that was introduced by the his nips? Yeah,
his
McKay
nibs had two names.
And Theo Kleiner.
But you're going, it's like reading a Donald J. Sobel thing, like Dorothy Sartain, the tall black gymnast from Portugal sauntered by.
Okay, I've got a picture of that. I'm preparing myself. I know about gymnasts. She'll never be mentioned again.
Leaning close to him was Hazel McKay. Oh, okay, which do I concentrate on? Which is important here? And it turns out we don't know until the future, right?
Not at all. Because
I hate this kind of writing. I hate it.
It's really bad because then it also brings up Roland Burden, who without the context of twin pharmaceuticals, I was like, who was that again? Now it's been 3 chapters and I've already forgotten. But Roland Burden is approaching. So she's like, this isn't, Jake, a good time for us to talk. Come see me at my place tomorrow morning early. And then here's one that I noted, I was annoyed by, but until it happened again, I wasn't going to mention it. But it says she gave him her address and moved unobtrusively but swiftly away from him. Is that the right way to use that word? I think of unobtrusive as being like, yeah, I'm going to put I'll put a little security camera outside. Don't worry about it. It's unobtrusive. You'll never notice it.
Well, it's hard to imagine going swiftly through the crowd and unobtrusively.
Wearing your silk dress.
While you're spilling drinks all over and pushing people out of the way.
I guess
okay.
it works. If it's you don't notice it, that means you're unobtrusive.
I guess so.
Yeah, oh well. The next chapter goes back to Dan and Molly, who are going to introduce a lawyer into the equation. Molly has several uncle lawyers who are going to try to help them out to spring her from the quack Dr. Stolzer's like mental hospital or whatever.
And this is Uncle Anthony.
Okay.
He's the one almost honest lawyer in the family.
Mm-hmm.
Ha ha ha.
A lawyer
So
joke? Yeah.
You have a really crooked, like springing murderers and getting off drug dealers and scamming people for class action suits. But then you have one guy who's almost honest. Better Call Saul kind of a guy.
Sure. Yeah, has a heart of gold, but he still dabbles in slip and fall cases. I remember in, I think, the riff tracks for Jurassic Park, they made some sort of lawyer joke, and I was like, the line was like, I guess to make a lawyer joke, all you have to do is just say the word lawyer at this point in time. And it's like, those were big in the 80s and 90s, like lawyers being the punchline. And this pretty much ends with Dan Cardigan going home, trying to get the house to open up, and goons have disabled the Alexa system in his house, and then they knock him out with a stun gun.
Yes. Okay. Although, just to go back a couple sentences, the Molly, right, says about her uncle, who's the almost honest lawyer in the family, I'll probably have to contact a dozen or so low dives and bistros before running him to ground. What? We have watch phones, and we have what are you talking about? She has boxes in every taxi, but you have to like physically fly to little low dives and like little
does that mean
opium
that low
dens and stuff like that? Like what?
Low dives is like calling O'Brien's and the guy being like, "Tell her I just left," you know, when the wife is calling, kind of thing.
On the way, not here,
brother.
Yes.
So
and bistros.
A beast, yeah, that seems like so her uncle hangs out at either Moe's Tavern or like a classy, brasserie or something.
Yes, he's sitting next to that little fern bar with the brass rail, and he's having a croissant and arugula salad before he heads off to his next case.
It's what keeps him almost honest.
Why don't you have a phone, Uncle Anthony? It's a weird quirk. You're a lawyer. How do people contact you? They have to dig me out of dives and...
No, the governor's calling with clemency at the last minute for your death row client. And, sorry, I was at the bistro.
Here.
Yes, I just left. He just left. Oh, wow. Well, that's not going to end well for him. And end of that segment?
That's the end of that segment. Thank you.
Okay. It goes back then to Texas, where Gomez and Pistolpack and Marnie have gone to talk over her betrayal of him at a carnival shooting gallery. Mm-hmm. And she sort of explains that Sam Cimarron was going to let her pay off his debts if she came down here and tracked him, reported back on Gomo's whereabouts.
It's always nice, and this is just a little writing tip. If you already know something, have one character stop for a good 4 pages and explain to someone else why they're there. Even though you, the reader, already know it. It's best to introduce it to the other character by having the most lengthy dialogue you've ever had in the book. That's just good writing right there.
Especially because you are jumping around, you're leaving, coming back in time. So you could start the chapter by being like, well, I'm not happy about all that, Gomez said, but now that you explained it to me, I understand why you did it. Like
exactly. But he has a shootout with Gomez she's just
they're at a
explaining
shooting
it.
Gallery, yeah.
Yeah.
Where next to them there are 2 plump women shooting at a simulated elephant.
Okay.
And that's where Gomez asks if she's heard of Avram Moyak.
There we go. There's the name that I'm like, wait a minute. Al Levinsky, Avram Moyak, what is going on here?
He is in Sweetwater because the guy named Einstein, remember there was a joke about why do you call your business Einstein Electronics or something? He told him to go to Sweetwater to track down Avram Moyak because he was a former SoCal Tech professor who worked undercover for the greater LA branch of the Office of Clandestine Operations, but he quit that 5 months ago and went into business for himself in Sweetwater. So he has come down here to talk to him, I guess.
I just have to say, it doesn't seem like in the future the world changes that much. Like Sweetwater, still you can just go to honky tonks and do this stuff. Shooting an elephant, I don't know. That doesn't seem very old westy to me. But I guess maybe they were doing the
it's like Big Butt
Edison
Hunter.
Versus
oh sure,
they're shocking an elephant to show the efficacy of direct current or something. I don't know.
Well, he doesn't even do the shooting at an elephant. Haven't been able to do that since they went extinct in 2048. Like after Chelsea Kinton Jr. shot the last one of those things. Type of I don't know. Like.
All right. So then, again, a long chapter for no reason because we explain everything we already knew about why Marnie was down there in Sweetwater to just follow him around.
Yes.
Then we cut to, which could have been a new chapter, but it's not, Susan sitting on her pale yellow wall. Mm-hmm. Very fixated on pale yellow, and I don't know why.
Probably makes the scrawling she does on it, theories about June Ann Stackpool, stand out better when she scrawls things in her own feces. The main point of this section is that she has a vision of Dan Cardigan being knocked out by the piping-voiced bald man.
Yes. So again, something we kind of already knew, but just seen from a different angle. Sort of a Rashomon thing going on here.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what this is like.
Good.
Rashomon with plump people.
Yes. And Alan and Emlyn are there.
Oh, my God.
So, no one's laughing.
After several minutes, a vox box in the ceiling said, "You must come down and return to bed, Susie." It was Emlyn's voice. Or maybe it was Alan.
Yeah?
Nope, nobody?
No.
He said, come on. All right, I guess you got all laughed out on that Einstein gag from 2 sections back. Oh, well. But it is Emlyn. It says, she says, "This is important, Emlyn." So she's pretty clear about who it is.
Oh, okay.
No, it's not. She says, "This is important, Emlyn. One of my friends has been hurt. This is Alan, dear. Go back to bed." So they double down on it after the narrator already makes the joke.
Okay, so she was imprisoned in Dr. Stotzer's,
yeah.
Stotzer's place. Okay, and probably that June Ann, who you think is fake, June Ann, whatever.
June Ann Stackpool.
Stackpool, Mrs. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Oh, so now I hope it'd be great if I was right about her being fake, but as long as we never see her, as long as she never actually appears in the book, I'll be happy. Yeah,
Bliriana, that would be the best thing ever.
Bliriana Stackpool. I don't think we ever got Bliriana's last name. That would be quite a coincidence. Chapter 28 now makes us back in Texas, back in another place where there is 20 robot horses and actual horse odors are being pumped in by the air sork system.
Why? I've had horses. Have you ever had horses?
Oh, no. I have not spent a lot of time around horses.
I have owned my own horses. It's not something you want to have, like, as the odor that you're constantly shoveling out their stall to get rid of the thing.
It was one of the major labors of Hercules was to clean out a stable. It's like, that's how bad it was.
Which is such I bet when people read that and they're like, "We're going to turn Hercules into a feature film." I'm like, how's it going to go cleaning out that stable? Like, because I think that took a long time and it's pretty repetitive work. Like, oh shit, I don't know how
it's right. Yeah. Montage. That's how. So I did appreciate that. Also, the number of 20 robot horses does come up later, so that's worth keeping an eye on. He's imprecise in his units of time. They're always about a round number, but the 20 does come up again. So they're here to meet Sam Cimarron, who is a large black cyborg, the third body type for anyone to be in this book. And I'm not quite sure about what cyborgs involve, because he's trying to extort Gomez, but then Gomez punches him in the crotch.
Yes, his sensitive groin area.
Yes.
Which again,
So-
why would you build sensitive areas into your indestructible, your beefy guys who are out there to do nothing but kill and subdue other people? Why do you give them a vulnerable crotch area?
Well, so
Why?
it says he's a cyborg, so I guess that calls into question of like how much robot, how much real are you as a cyborg when they were?
As opposed to an Andy?
Yep. Yeah.
So now I have to keep track of that?
I mean, you have to keep track of it in the same way that you keep track of whether that teenager's ever coming back, as in not at all.
But if you're going in for the surgery, the cyborg surgery, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Just like, look, the rest of me doesn't work. Let's just make that not very sensitive.
Well, that could have been the thing. Like, and you of course want to remove the groin feature. No. Like, I got to keep the boys. Turn to the camera for a laugh. Like, doctor's like, everyone always wants to keep the boys.
You do realize, sir, if you ever are in a simulated horse barn, and someone ducks low and punches you in that area, it will disable you.
What are the odds? And, though, if I ever am in that situation, I want to keep my nose because I hear they're doing great stuff with simulated horse odors these days. They're very realistic, very unpleasant. I want to verify that for myself.
I understand they pump it in, sir, so I will do my best.
And then, so this is another thing that I guess they have in the future, and that Gomez is also always carrying with him. He slaps a truth disc.
True disc.
A true disc.
Yes. Can't say truth.
That makes you have to answer every question truthfully. So it becomes like the Jim Carrey movie Liar, Liar.
Yes.
And that's where he gets answers out of him about where Avram Moyak is. I wasn't sure what he was going to be asking with the disc, but the location of this other character that we've never met is what he's trying to track down.
I was very excited about this, maybe one of the first time. Where's Avram Moyak? After a few seconds, Cimarron blurted, Tekalodian. I think I'm pronouncing that how he wants it, right?
Yes.
That's what? Big Tech Den, supplied Marty. Tekalodian, I mean, come on. You can imagine what that would be.
Yeah, and it's probably, knowing what we know about the author, he was probably unaware that there was a wildly popular children's cable network with the name Nickelodeon, and probably just knew the old-timey, was it a movie system that Nickelodeon was named after?
I believe it would play 87s or whatever. Like,
oh, it was a record
another
player.
nickel in the Nickelodeon.
Oh, if there wasn't that, yeah. So he's probably unaware of that and thinks he's just made the first reference to Nickelodeon in probably 70 years, other than Mr. Burns. So
his nibs shall be at the Tekalodian. His editor's like, oh God, Goulart.
The True Disc interrogation is then interrupted by another guy coming in, a lean man. Marnie then releases a robot horse from the stalls that trample the man as Gomez leaps and rolls out of the way in the fashion of this book. Mm-hmm. It's like I don't know, it just reminds you of the unchoreographed fights in the 70s movies we do, like Guy from Harlem. There's just, leaping and rolling is just like the classic, untrained stuntman thing that you think the stuntmans do.
Yeah, the cameraman, the lighting crew's going to have an iced tea. Just quickly work out a fight on the floor here. We'll pour the light over the top of it, and you don't have to hit any spot. Just like,
yeah,
I almost hit you, you duck, I go like this, I roll,
somersault, yes,
and then I punch you. Yeah, the end.
And then, so I think it was revealed. The horse had escaped. Gomez gets rid of it, and then it reveals that Marnie is remote controlling the robot horse. I don't know. I guess that's something she knows how to do as a pistol packing act.
Yes, she poked at the small silver control box she was holding in her hand. So every robot stallion has a small silver control box.
So you have android robots like Alan and Ellen with free will, but the animals in the world are still remote control for our amusement, I guess.
Yes, and then she's poking the silver thing, and it's like, And so turn it off. Oh, make it poop like, the button's jammed. And then it just fills up the barn with its own simulator.
Wow, the Cirque system is, pumping in that odor. That is impressive. And it's always more than you think it's going to be with these horses. It just keeps coming. Wow. All right. Well, that's the end of that chapter.
All right. I don't think I have much. We should probably, we're probably...
Move it on through here?
Yeah, we should move it on through.
Okay. So Jake tries to go and meet Hazel McKay, who is the woman he met at the Dowager's party, and gets told that she does not live in that building. So it's either a cover-up or a fake building. And so that's, in this book, we've had a lot of meetings that don't happen because of like scheduling difficulties, or just an icing on the cake for a book that's full of meetings. Just great dramatic stuff.
Before we go on to more meetings, which are, that's obviously why we're here. But just as a slight aside, a sonic challenge for you. The robot produced a jumpy humming noise in his broad chest.
Okay, so this is it's after he's looking up where Hazel McKay lives. And so this is sort of his
he's chrome,
working,
I don't know if this helps, multicolored flowered shirt, white trousers, yellow sandals, and gun belt with twin stun guns, not las guns.
Okay.
Silvery right hand, etc. All right, and go.
Hazel, you're mistaken, sir. There is no such person residing here.
Thank you. All right.
Yes.
Jumpy humming is quite enough. Why do they give you that? They have soundproofing. They can block that out. It's like horse poop. Why do they?
Why does it sound like a dot matrix printer? That's not. So then Jake goes back outside. He does some more diving because a car lands, but it is Casey Bascom showing up to essentially be like, "I'm your partner. I'm you can't get rid of me that easily."
Yeah, he ducks behind. I like the. Doesn't he duck behind a facade or something?
He dives against the apartment complex front facade and pulls out a stun gun as well.
So you're just supposed to, again, that's just picture this. You know what we're talking about. Would the facade have a place where he wouldn't be seen if a car landed here, and then he dove? How would that work? You know what we're talking about. Just do it. In your mind, just make it work.
You get some more. Molly is talking again to Rex GK30. There was nothing really there other than that she makes a request of Rex, and his image was gone from the screen for nearly 10 seconds, aka 9 seconds. Mm-hmm. And then Rebecca Burden meets with Jean-Paul Burdeniere.
Yeah, this is where I feel like the story picked up again.
Okay.
Because we're in San Peligro Via.
Yes, and she is trying to talk to him. He says, "Can we talk off the record?" And he has this very natural response. He says, "Of course, Rebecca. I'm not here in my capacity as Caribbean director of the International Drug Control Agency."
I do like also that what were the years that the French colonialism had the Caribbean islands? Hundreds of years ago. I know there's still French-controlled islands as there are, but the fact that Jean-Paul Burdeniere is still there, it just made me happy.
And he explains, who he is to people who know who he is. That's just how it works.
And that is the CIDCA. It comes up again? It's the IDCA.
IDCA, the International Drug Control Agency.
Yes, okay. Because so that comes up again as an acronym.
Yeah. She has called him there because she is telling him that they are going to have the imitation tech they're manufacturing ready to go in 2 months, but they're also still making the illegal, harmful stuff under the cover of making what would presumably be a legal version of tech. And that's the harmful version of it. And I to myself, there might be an explanation. I did not remember why they want to keep making the illegal, harmful stuff, even though they're going to make a version that they can then sell for real. It might just be like Terry Silver Karate Kid 3, they just want to dump toxic materials someplace. Like,
I assumed it was like the in the Prohibition era, they used to make alcohol, and then they'd put the poison in it so they could sell it as rubbing alcohol, and then right behind it was a factory that took the poison out of the alcohol. So it was a 3-step process. I assume they're doing something like that. It was like, see, this is all on the up and up, and then there's the dirt. It's like Madoff, where he goes downstairs and goes to that grubby basement where they're all like wearing green visors and stuff. Like, yeah, sir. Then you go up to his gleaming office.
Yeah, I suppose it could also be like if they're going to help people get off tech using their methadone version or something, they still want to have it to, double deal at the back of the room. That's probably what they're doing.
Sure.
But she essentially, tells them all that and is like, you've got to stop my brother. I don't approve of what he's doing. And then her brother does the walkout. Well, that won't be necessary, sister. So she tells the DE agent all that.
An honest one in the family, I see. Well, did we come out of the same womb? Because you seem decidedly to have angel wings, and I have devil wings. But I like that she's telling the Jean-Claude Bonnier.
Jean-Luc? Jean-Claude Bertinier.
Who I assume is like, interesting, like looking to the room where, his conspirator is, and like, I have to be at the Jaguar dealership in like 10 minutes. So if you could hurry up this story of how your company is.
Well, I think you've confessed enough to me. Well, I mean, I've confessed. You've explained enough to me. That's weird that I said that.
And she does not, and he kind of like poo-poos it all. Is like, well, not much I can do anyway. And she still goes on, no, please, you must help me. Instead of going like, okay, this is just a big setup, and my brother's right there, isn't he?
Right.
And he comes out of the room. Yes.
Yeah. And so he says, like, we'll take care of you, my dear Becky, my beloved sister. That's how that chapter ends. And chapter 30 does have some plot advance, too. Dan Cardigan has been knocked out by the piping man. He awakes in a room with exactly 20 cots in the Neowood room. So there's one for each mechanical horse. No word whether they're pumping horse odors into this Neowood room. All are occupied by sleeping young men. So he is he's been knocked out. He has had what they refer to as also a brain wipe and a mind wipe within a couple sentences of each other. So he can't remember who he is, but he's talking to another guy, a lanky black young man. So he's both. He's lanky and black.
Yes,
so, but he is. They're like, you can't remember anything. What did they tell you your name was? And the guys who knocked him out and brought him here told him his name was Hank Wiener.
Which I have to say, I did appreciate that. That was the first time. I'm like, okay,
sure.
I know it is yes, it is a major bat guano kind of joke, where like we get to choose. But as long as we're going to rename a guy, let's just call him Hank Wiener.
We'll take the laughs where we can get them in this one, especially 8 books into the series, and Goulart's just like, I do not give a damn anymore. Yes. Hank Wiener. But
although
then,
I rescinded my support for it when the lanky young black man introduced himself.
Oh my God. I couldn't believe it.
I was like, all right, I'm riding high on this, for a very brief time. I suppose it's like, surfing in San Diego. Like, I'll take this wave, I guess, because there's not many here. And then it sort of fizzles out. But then all of a sudden, oh no, the sea just went flat.
A deep lore from our first book we ever did. He meets the lanky young black man. I'm looking at it now, and it's just like, Ogden Whitney. There we go. Booyah. Ogden Whitney. It's I think we had another Ogden in another book, which came as a surprise, but I think this is now the third one in the history of this podcast. It is. Unbelievable.
Ogden Whitney. Stop it. So they brainwash him and they bring him to JWA, Junior Workers of America, which I assume is going to be one of those. It's going to be a right-wing camp or something where they
I think it was just
reprogram people, or
yeah. I think it was just it's like the guys picking up the garbage on the side of the highway.
oh, okay.
I think it's in the Mississippi territory.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's like a work camp or something, like a work rehabilitation camp. I don't know. Detention center for juvenile criminals. I don't know if we get to see what they're actually doing, but Ogden is going to be Hank Wiener's man on the inside here.
You are my wiener. Never forget that. I will always be holding on to you, Wiener.
Morgan Freeman. First time I ever saw Hank Wiener walking into Shawshank, I knew he was a man that knew how to get things. All right, we got a new challenge. Replace a beloved book character, make their name Hank Wiener, and see how that changes the entire vibe of the book. Then it goes back to the Caribbean, where they're planning some sort of thing. There's a van from Foods Inc. Foods, just Foods with a Z. Delivering foods to the big hotel there twice a day. So it sounds like they're plotting some sort of Ocean's 11 thing. They're like, it comes in the morning, and at 3 p.m, the Foods Inc. makes a delivery truck. And I know Edwin Temerson, who runs the Foods operation in the Caribbean sector, so we can trust him. So it sounds like they're planning something that will be revealed at a later date.
Edwin Temerson. Again, why do we have to just like, I know a guy, he runs the whole Foods operation. Yeah, can we trust this dude? Why do we have to give him the full name?
Lanky guy with a hook hand. We don't need to know his name. Just, he's a shady character.
Oh, this just bugged me. So JJ Bracken obviously that's her dad, or no, she works for him?
She works for him.
She works for Bracken. So we can trust this guy.
Yeah.
Have we been taught that we should trust JJ Bracken and all of his political?
I think that she trusts him. So that's what Jake says. I don't know if I can trust a political loon. And he says, well, he supports my guy. So I trust him.
Maybe I didn't say his name is Edwin Temerson.
Oh, sure. Now that I know his name, I know all about him. It's a fully fleshed out character immediately.
Okay. So Foods. So that's going to be their plan to somehow get into the Newtown cafeteria, yes. I guess, is where it delivers the things to.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. That brings us to our final chapter.
31.
Which has a big... you're sort of exhausted at this point, but there's a major payoff for a long-running joke here. So I think it's all going to be worth your time.
Oh, is it the same one is it in the first sentence or the second sentence?
No, but please go on with that one.
Oh, well, in the first paragraph... the air circ system kept the temperature just below the comfort level. And I just thought, if I had to give it a futuristic name, I might call it the AC system. Would that be? Why are we renaming air circ system?
I think the air circ system is also what pumped in the horse odor, too. So it's multi-purpose.
So like Vegas, I guess, where you can pump in the smells to keep people alert. They pump oxygen in there to keep you awake.
And it's just below the comfort level. I think that's a little joke there. You ever notice how the doctor's office is never as warm as you want it to be? It's always just a little too cold. All right. I've got 5 minutes on that.
And then the guys in the office are like, put on a sweater, sweetheart, and smile more. You'd look prettier. Right? Am I right?
Well, the guy in the office, here you go. This is Molly, who's posing as a person overseeing the Young Adult Psychiatric Overlook Committee of Greater Los Angeles.
Yes.
She's Zena Eschler, and she introduces herself to the tall, blonde android in a spotless, pale suit, who says, "I'm Evelyn." That's Eevlyn. He took the identification medals. So we had Alan, we had Evelyn, and we have Evelyn. And I guess that is funny.
I didn't spend a lot of time trying to make sense of it, but I don't think that that's the reader's job to figure out what jokes are supposed to be. I have no idea what that means. Do you?
I don't. No. They're all just different models. I mean, all various iterations of the same model of android, so they all have the same name. I don't know.
But the spelling doesn't really, it's not a joke. It's not fun. Like, who cares?
No. And so it's a guy, though? It's like Evelyn Waugh?
Yeah, like, Evelyn's an old, there's a lot of men's names that went from being men to women because they sounded more. Evelyn is one of those. I pity the person who was like named Evelyn and then lived to be 110. Like, damn it.
Grandma? Grandpa, sorry. That happened recently. There was like, whatever Time magazine exists as this days did like 100 best, women authors, and they put Evelyn Waugh on it because they obviously looked at some other list and thought that it was a woman. Like, well done. We did get this detail about it. This might clear everything up. Evelyn's very plausible pink forehead furrowed.
Yeah, there we go.
Happy about that?
No, obviously.
And so Molly talks her way into seeing Susan. And when she gets into her room, she took a bug disabling disc. Mm-hmm. So Gomez had the lie disabling disc. She has a bug disabling disc, which if you're a bug manufacturer, listening in bugs type of thing, it must just bug you that, no joke there, that people can just use these discs. It seems like this product exists and sort of has rendered your entire industry obsolete and unfunctional.
It seems like, you would work to just have our bugs are undefeatable by...
Well, yeah, exactly. We're always one step ahead.
Disk technology, yeah.
But a 16-year-old police academy trainee has very quickly and easily obtained one, so the industry has a way to go, I guess.
Yes. So she talks to her... Oh, she has another vision? Is that right?
Yeah, she had a vision of Dan.
Yes.
And she has a vision while Molly is there.
Yes. He stun gunned him, and
they used stun rods on him. That's where
that's where the stun rods come in.
So what's the guy in Cool Hand Luke name? The evil warden. He's using a stun rod on him.
Yes.
Giving him the what we have here.
What we have here. Struther Martin, I believe is his name.
Yes, there you go.
Thank you.
Plaz Struther. And then he says she's going to reveal the vision, but then Evelyn comes back in and is like, what the hell? You bugged our bug system. You're not supposed to do that. You're supposed to take these, you're supposed to let us listen in on you.
Yeah, don't put your thumb over the window thing. I'm trying to look out the door at you. Stop that.
And then the last part of the thing is that Roland is sort of doing the tisk speech to his sister, like you had him doing earlier. And he's saying like, she's like, you're never going to get away with this. Like I know what you're doing. And, once I tell our attorneys, and he's like, but our attorneys, they won't believe someone who's been as addicted to drugs as you have been for the past few years, Becky. I've laid all the evidence to a paper trail indicating my concerns about your mental fitness to run our company.
Now I'm going to start that saw over there, and in 3 hours it will get to you and cut you, and no one will suspect anything. Good luck getting away from that. And then leaves the room.
I must go. The Dowager is throwing another soiree. There's a Olympic handball player in that she's honoring by writing his name in the sky. His name is, of course, some variation of Evelyn or Evelyn, or I don't know what the hell.
Oh boy, this is just this is word filler here. Don't you think? The burden, the twins, the burdens.
I guess so. I mean, like you said, you just summed up the scene in improvised 10 seconds. So I think that he's relying on us understanding what he's going for more than anything.
But he kind of already did it when he walked into the room. But whatever.
Right.
Anyway, it killed 3 pages. So good for him.
And his main point is that I'm going to send you off to Dr. Stolzer, who employs Evelyn, Allen, and Evelyn and has, yellow painted walls. So she's going to end up in the same place as where Susie has been taken to, and I assume that's how this whole thing is going to come to a head.
Yes.
Once
and
the gang
she's
is all together.
And then his last line is perfect. Because everyone calls him a quack or I guess, what is there another name?
Yeah,
for
they call
quack?
him a quack, yeah.
I'm not that quack. Come, Becky. Stoker's highly respected, said Roland. And once he gets through modifying your brain, you'll agree that he's a wonderful fellow. Oh, I tripped on the coffee table going out of the room. Damn it!
Oh. Anyway, Saul will be there in 3 hours. I'm off. Oh, boy. Well, that brings us to the final section of Tech Kill, which we'll read for next time.
Yes.
But let's wrap up. We have just a few dumb sentences from people that we've not burned, and let's get to those now.
Dumb sentence of the week.
All right, these are the dumb sentences of the week submitted by our beloved, kind, generous Patreon jackals over at patreon.com/372pages. Go find out what everyone's talking about over on there. You will not be sorry that you did. This first one is from Alex. Molly tugged him off along a side corridor.
Right.
This is from Nathan. Grinning, he left the plump man and the green robot. And he said, now that is how you end a chapter. I agree.
Yes,
that was one of the best Goulardian chapter endings. Andrew submitted, do we deal? Asked Orion from the screen in Madam Future's bosom. Dawn submitted, I'll check with the household computers, said the computer. Another example of the redundancy that you commented on earlier, rearing its head. Hayden submitted, after a few seconds, Cimarron blurted, Techolodian. Harrison submitted, we addressed this, but yes, almost hopeful, she said aloud, because that was in response to the narrator saying for the while last night that she'd felt almost hopeful. Piper submitted, this isn't, Jake, a good time for us to talk. And she submitted several ways that you could write that are not interrupting the flow of dialogue. Jake, this isn't a good time for us to talk, and this isn't a good time for us to talk, Jake. But Goulart puts it in the middle of the sentence. Mark submitted, from his immense top-floor office in the Newtown Pharmaceutical Corporation building, Roland Burden could see almost all of Newtown. And Mark said, I know a sentence begins with a capital letter, but this is ridiculous. Mike submitted, far away, two plump women were shooting at a simulated elephant. Jacob submitted, Evelyn's very plausible pink forehead furrowed. Jackson submitted, I have to hit the study lab and work on my electronic forensics CD paper. And Chap submitted, I was once the lead singer in a prominent country and western robot man. Began the forlorn mechanism. And Chap said, not as solid as, said the robot pimp disdainfully, but clearly a product of the same mind. Let me see if I have any that we didn't use. Man, a lot of mine were here. How about these are two simple ones. Tumbled down on the floor in a twisted sprawl was a fat, balding man. I think it's a sentence that only Goulart could have written, and this was just a simple one from the very end. And your contact at Foods with a Z is? And just dumb. Old-fashioned dumb. Got anything else?
I don't. I'm doing a public service, though. I'm looking up his nibs.
Oh, wow, yes.
No one really knows. At least according to my initial research. It's very hard.
Wikipedia, or is it just on its own little weird pages of slang?
I think this is one of those AIs that steals from everything else.
Oh, great.
Yes. It could refer to his knobs, a slang term of a person of high rank from the 17th century. Another theory, his nibs are related to the Old English word neb, meaning beak or nose, which I think is a French word, but yeah, so something to do with nose, like haughty or something. So,
oh boy, doesn't make me like it anymore. That's for sure.
Not at all. Anyway, so I was at least right that I didn't know where it came from because I don't know why they capitalize it. I guess his nibs would be like that guy. So I don't know.
Maybe it's referring to the cheese nibs, the sort of Cheez-It ripoff. It's a proper name.
Cheese nips. Come on.
Oh, jeez. Well, it's even worse. Oh, well. All right. Well, we're going to finish the damn book for next time. And there's a lot of loose ends to tie up and a lot of characters that we'll never see again. So I'm looking forward to it.
So am I. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.